becoming the treasurer?
I'd have.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call this special meeting of the Board of Select Persons to order, February 11th, 2025. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so we have 4 members here. Melanie, let us know she's going to be a little late, so we will go ahead and establish a quorum. And we may be done. So I move that we open the meeting.
Second.
All in favor, Dan?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
I'll vote yes, so 4 yes, 1 absent. This is time for public comment. If there's anyone who would like to make public comment on something that is not on the agenda, this would be the time to do that. Anyone? Gentlemen? Okay. So, what? Oh,
Yeah,
Drew.
well, we have 2 people in audience that are here for a specific couple articles.
Yeah.
I was wondering if we could kind of jump to them articles and go through them. I know one of them's Article 36. And
Article 36, and what's the other one?
in Article 19.
Article 19?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, only because I like to be somewhat in order. Why don't we start with Article 19? To see if the town will appropriate $47,705.50 in non-tax revenue and raise and appropriate from taxation $571,239.50 for public safety, for a total of $618,945 as follows, with any unexpended balance from the Fire and Rescue Department budget lapsing into its equipment and capital reserve. The total 2024 budget was $547,539. The 2024 actual was $537,592.11. The 2025 request is $618,945. Property from funding from non-property tax sources, a total of, in the 24 budget of $44,980. In the 2024 actual budget, $45,774. The request of 2025, $47,705.50. And netting that funding from non-property sources, we come to an amount to be funded from property taxes of $571,239.50. So I move we approve this article as written.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Yeah,
So, yeah, I don't have any problems with it, with.
Do you have a copy of that? Is this what we're using?
yeah,
Certainly no objections from me. I just was kind of hoping, that $80,000 difference with the fire and rescue department, difference, that line is the biggest jump. Is it, what could help explain that? So we don't-
Which one was it? Sorry. I didn't get
Yeah,
that.
that's okay. So line 2, the fire and rescue department line, at $80,000 bump. Just sort of curious.
It's 454. And that's 532.
I mean, from 459, 459.
When we up the
yeah,
equipment maintenance, that was, well, then they added another till.
Yeah, we added some originally, but then at the last, not the last meeting, but the one prior.
And then
added-
payroll, and then the
Delta.
the
family
Delta
med,
years of service award.
Yeah.
So we,
Delta was probably, and is in that one,
Family medical leave in that?
dispatch too, is dispatch?
Dispatch is in there, that wasn't a huge
That wasn't,
increase.
yeah, 2,000, right? But-
No, dispatch is on the bottom.
Yeah, dispatch, yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
so again, no problem. I'm just trying to make sure we can explain it.
Yeah, it's just a maintenance kill those, it's already starting off with a bang issue, that's why we got that.
You know how much Delta increased, how much it's, I think that's probably a big.
I don't have it in front of me, but it was just under the 67, for the year.
Yeah.
Because they're July 1.
It went up 60s?
No,
No, total.
just under that total, the budgeted amount.
Right,
I think they're at 35.
per capita, right?
Yeah.
But that went up from 20.
25, I think
Right,
they've
yeah.
gone up to, yeah.
Okay. Any other articles? Any other questions of that article? We're on 19, Melanie. If there are no questions. All in favor, Dan,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes,
Melanie, and I'll vote yes, so that's 5 yeses.
Budget committee, Gary,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Penny?
Yeah.
Bruce, yes, so
Four.
four, two absent.
Okay. And then the other article was Article 36,
Yes,
okay? And we've got 19 done. Article 36. Oh, this is funding the reserve account.
yeah, yeah. Yes.
Okay, to see if the town will raise and appropriate from taxation. $792,500 to fund the following reserve accounts. The total balance for the 2024 is $1,422,338.70. The request for 2025 is $792,500. And that would all be funded from property taxes. I move we approve this article as written.
Second.
Discussion.
May I speak?
You may. Where'd you
Uh,
go?
Oh, hi, folks. Pardon me, I was just finishing my dinner here. I'm just gonna raise the same points I raised last week. This figure's been reduced by $300,000 by moving what was going to go to the road capital reserve to the paving article, which I applaud. I think that's the right move. But to propose $800,000 in new taxation for the taxpayers, in my opinion, is both irresponsible and I think is foolhardy because I think it has zero chance of actually passing at town meeting. And again, I will propose what I did last week in that you should be looking, I know you don't have audited figures, but you know that you have about nearly $500,000 more in revenue that you generated from non-property taxes than was budgeted last year, and at least $200,000 in unspent dollars that are not rolling over into designated capital reserves. At the very least, you should be using a portion, and I would suggest a healthy portion of that to offset some of this cost, and then make some tough decisions about how much you really want to raise taxes in order to populate these capital reserves, which I'm in favor of. I think you have to look forward and save up for these big ticket items. But I think asking the taxpayers to approve $800,000 in one fell swoop, it's never going to pass. And I don't think it's fiscally responsible.
Okay. Bruce,
Lorna, do you have, any number, I know it's not audited and I'm fine with that. Do you have any numbers on, the revenues? A rough idea?
You've got the if you look in your binder, you have all of the, revenues under, it's the very last tab. You can see the figures there of what, came in. We had quite a bit extra on the vehicle excise tax. Another 10 boat, interest on taxes. But we
Boat
were,
excise, we don't get all that. well,
right, half of it goes to the, I believe, the water quality. fund.
We're doing page 58.
No, you're looking at 68, did you say 58 or 68?
58.
68.
Just curious, when will you be audited?
They're doing the audit now, but they're not finished up.
When do they plan on finishing?
I don't know that. Mary and I have both reached out to them. We want to have it obviously to get into the town report, so we're waiting on that.
Just a foolish question that nobody probably can answer this. Does other towns have a problem getting their audits back before their town meetings, or is it just us?
I think they're waiting,
It's-
they're waiting on our numbers.
Right, but it is common
Yeah,
for many municipalities.
to not get it to like the day, you know,
Yes,
okay. Just seems like, I just wondering if it's the audit company or, you know,
no, I
We've
think
always
they're
had
all
a
like
town
that.
report, so it's always been done in the final document, isn't it?
no, we haven't.
Isn't everyone in a crunch, you have it done at the same time also?
What'd you
Yeah,
say,
a
Carol?
lot
I'm
of
sorry.
municipalities have their.
I said I expect there are a lot of towns trying to get it done at the same time, which puts more of a crunch as they're trying to manage.
But haven't we always had an audit report by town report?
I believe so.
Yeah, we have.
The last
Yeah.
couple of years.
Was one,
Last year, we got it just before,
We were
Just
waiting,
before
we
the
held
town
that
meeting.
going.
just
to the
before
front,
town meeting, I was
yeah.
gonna say it was really late, yep.
So do we want to look at these reserve requests one by one?
I probably would feel that, I mean, it's up to you guys. Right now, I'm just going down through the revenues right now.
Sarah?
So the extra revenue that I think Mr. Wilson was talking about, which is a good point. If we take the budget numbers on the front page, which is about 11 million point nine or 12 million. total of the budget of 2024. It's about 12 million, very close to it. And if you guys look at page 58, general government, and you look at the actuals of 2024, we're talking about a healthy 12.4 million, almost 0.5. So that's a half a million he's talking about. So, if that's actually will go kind of in the rainy fund, and then we can afterwards allocate it. You know, grab from there and put in reserves, then why don't we create an article to do that? Rather than asking, I mean, the same numbers that we have here, asking a request, put in an article to get the request from that extra revenue that we have.
Are you talking about the revenues that are at the top of page 57? Is that what you're saying?
So my base statement into this whole thing is page 1, if you look at the column of the budget that says 2024, and you look at the total in the bottom, it says 11,994,988. Okay, so that I round that out to 12 million,
Right.
right? So you got that number.
Yep.
So then you go to page 58, and just looking at the revenue that came out of the actuals of 2024, just from the general government, and that's where we count the excise tax that is in the biggest, hitter for revenues. We look at that government 54, on the neat line 99. In the general government, the total is 12 million for actuals of 2024, is 12.4 million. That's actually 12,440,000 with 960. Yes, sir. So the difference between those two numbers is what we kind of, the plus on revenues is, we have to, the budget is all the expenses, that's the revenue, and that's the about the $500,000 that Mr. Wilson's talking about.
And how much of that is not going into reserve account by the way the article's written, like fire and safety goes to fire.
We
Public,
maxed out our budget, so I don't know what we're doing this year, I don't believe.
So.
Right.
So one option, I guess,
so
would be
the Parks
that,
and Rec, they keep their excess money, right? So we should take out of that 450, whatever it is,
yeah,
the people that are gonna get that money anyway, right? Because it stays in their account.
Correct.
If- No, you're looking at the wrong side of the ledger. The revenues don't roll over, it's the expenses. So
It's the
only,
delta between them.
so even if you generate more revenue, that doesn't roll over automatically into your capital reserves. It's your unspent money on the expense side that automatically rolls into your capital reserves. There are two sides of the ledger. There
So
are
we
two
need
sides
to
of the
look
ledger.
at. Yeah, we need to look at what portion of that money that's unspent. And take out of it the one that is going to roll somewhere.
That's right. So there are only specific
Right.
articles that you should be looking
Right.
at in that regard. And when I did that, I found $200,000. I did not look at the public safety, for instance, warrant article, because that rolls into your fire capital reserves
Right.
or recreation or the library. But administrative services, then all
Right.
of that rolls into your undesignated fund.
Right, right.
And I think, you guys are flipping through pages. All you have to do is look at, I believe it's Article 17, which is the revenue article, and look at the actuals versus the budget, and that will tell you the difference. I believe it's $480,000 from what was budgeted versus what was actually collected in 2024. So there's $480,000 to play with in order to, build up your capital reserves without having to rely on taxes.
we're just gonna,
I hope that was yours, not mine.
that's my, yeah.
So. I guess my question is we have to have the, governing body. Vote on taking it from the general fund, so we have to have that in wording that come from the general fund. I'm trying to-
Maybe we look at, I'm just coming up until we have an audited amount. That we take 90% of what we anticipate,
That's what I was gonna say,
Take
85.
some kind of a factor in there. That we feel that at least 90% of it's gonna be. We're not gonna find a huge major mistake. And if it does, then we would advise from the floor to
Just decrease it,
vote that,
right, we make amendment to decrease
right,
the amount
and actually
on the
Yeah,
floor.
yeah,
on the floor.
that makes sense.
Yeah. If we take an estimated number,
I'm not sure I agree with Anthony that it won't pass, but it's pretty healthy. And Dan, what happens if you don't get that 200K?
Well, we're specking out 2 trucks right now, but the build on them is 3 years out, 2 to 3. And for the 2 trucks that are due, you're looking at close to $1 million.
I'm sorry, it's how much, Dan?
I'm almost $1 million. Just rough numbers they threw at us with
Yeah.
others. And it might come down when you put it out to bid, because they're gonna be a little high,
Right,
And the
which, so like I say, we only gotta make a deposit, I'm not concerned about that as much as the fire station.
right,
But as long as we can get it back
right.
in the next
But
year.
if we've got the funds, just on the floor, go ahead and reduce this amount.
I believe I'm correct that on the floor, we can reduce, but we can't.
Cannot
increase.
raise, you can reduce, yes.
So for that, that's one reason it would be. If we're not sure, real sure of numbers, that we don't cut ourselves too thin.
Right.
And we, on the floor, could discuss the fact that we now have hopefully, have an audited number. And rest assured that you may not want to approve all of this, and we wrangle the numbers or have them
Just
ready to
remember,
be
you would be
presented.
able to appropriate that money
Right,
on the floor, either you'd have to wait till next year, or have a special town meeting to appropriate it.
You gotta have it, right, that's why it's, the wording's gonna be in there now, and then you can decrease it if the audited numbers
That's
are
right.
less than what
right.
they
We
say.
can always go back. We
And
can't
just
go
bear
back.
in mind, the difference between this year's capital reserve and last year's capital reserve basically is that $200,000 for the revaluation.
That's it.
Because last year in the capital reserve, it was $607,500.
Yeah,
Was that raised and appropriated?
No,
No,
that's
No.
just,
That's the difference.
that was from undesignated.
Last year's thing, it was now we'll appropriate $607,000 from this funds.
But they didn't raise it. They-
Right.
Right.
You have to raise it.
Right.
So we appropriated it all from monies we had.
right.
They're still, you're looking for the same amount of money, it's just this year we're
Right.
trying to
This year
raise
we've
and
got a tax
appropriate.
collector.
so I guess I'll throw something out there, and somebody please tell me, Lorna, please tell me if I'm going the wrong numbers here. I say we appropriate from unspent funds and from the undesignated fund. Or maybe it's all from the
All
undesignated.
undesignated.
All undesignated fund, $630,000 to offset the $792,500 in capital reserve. That's 10% less than the 700,000,
And then you would look to raise and appropriate the balance.
correct? And maybe at that time, we need to probably let it bear to the taxpayers that you're not gonna be, you may not be able to have that funding every year to come from the general fund, that some of these capital reserves. It's probably gonna be more year after year being a raise and appropriate, because we're taking money that we, put.
However, we will be increasing those balances some by interest, which we have not been doing for a
Correct,
number of years.
correct,
So there's been no interest earned to that money, and they'll begin to,
right.
Over
Until-
time.
and as long as the interest rate stays up, the
Well,
interest rate starts
there'll
dropping.
always be interest, question of
Right.
what it is.
Yeah.
But,
So Bruce, did you arrive at that number by taking 80% of?
90, I did 90%.
Of the
90%?
of the 792,
Yeah, when I did, I took 700,000 times it by point
yeah,
10 and.
792 and 90% of 700.
I did 700,000, I rounded it at 700,000, I didn't do the 792.
but this is almost
Oh.
eight
That's almost
hundred
eight
thousand.
hundred thousand.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's a bit, yeah.
So I'm not quibbling, over it. I
No.
just wanted to make sure I was understanding what we were doing. So if we said 792,500 and then get 90% of that, just for figures to toss around, at 713,250. So if we did 90%
Yeah.
of this total value and we still followed the logic, would be at the 713 number.
Yep.
So does that make sense? That we try to use that as,
Yeah,
Right.
I did it. 7,000.
so that would leave a 10% difference that would be left here to, we'd be asking the taxpayers to raise and appropriate.
Correct.
But we're really only saving, quote, from raising and appropriating.
Well, it's all
$80,000.
Doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, it's a small amount,
However,
Yeah.
the taxpayers are gonna holler, they're not gonna like this.
yeah,
That's a lot of money in one fell sweep.
it is,
It is,
Anthony is right when he says that.
yeah.
I agree.
Sarah?
Now, the part of the discussion that is missed here is that we went over this, reserve accounts. and about the monies that are asking for. Each head department pitch in and, expressing the need for that particular money for certain things. Like, facilities, we have 50 grand for a truck, 100,000 for capital raise for things that are gonna be done next year. Maintenance garage, 10,000, so on. So each head department came here vouching for that number, all right? So that said, yeah, I understand that there's, extra revenues that we can dip in. But I'd rather, in my mind, we're thinking this ahead. I'd rather ask the full amount that we have right now for the reserves now. And then next year, and the following year, don't have to do it because we already got the money that we are seeing writing is actually in the bank.
Right.
Right now, I don't think all that money's in the bank yet. We haven't really know that we're talking
It's
about.
not in its own separate account in the bank.
So,
So, facilities capital reserve, we're looking to put 100 grand in. There should be some money there. It's facilities, I'm sorry, I'm thinking it was recreation. Forget that idea,
So
talked myself out of it.
I guess my point is that sooner or later, we're gonna have to appropriate this money, is what I get at.
That is
We
true.
are, it's just, we're trying to
This
not
year
make it as big
Or
of.
next year, or we split it halfway, or whatever.
I think it's important to try to even out the spread, you know, so that there's not a huge increase in one year.
Then we can do half this year, commit to that amount, half this year and half next year. We can put that in our. And we.
That is a possible.
Except I don't think we can commit to next year.
No, but the total, instead of raising all the amount this year, we're gonna tell the town that we need this amount. We're just gonna appropriate half of it this year and the next half next year. So this is already approved now.
Right, but I'm not sure, Melanie.
Next year, you're
Can we
I
do
mean,
that?
I don't
Yeah.
think
We
we can
can't.
commit to next year's.
We
money
can't
at
commit
this
to
point.
next year.
Catch
We
up
can,
on
in
this year.
theory, commit to it, but we can't.
Especially when you're
legislatively
looking
commit it.
to.
We can say,
purchase
we're going to
vehicles,
take
right?
half this year, but the question that I have is, what if some of these reserves need to be increased because of something that happens next year that we haven't anticipated?
Right.
Then we get the bump again.
There's some catastrophe and there's some great expense somewhere.
I mean,
We have to go to the voters.
right,
That's exactly right. You call another town meeting and have a vote.
Right,
It's not a big deal.
I mean, as far as, you know, and Dan can speak on this too, but you take like the equipment reserve on the fire department, the 200,000 is pretty much gonna be a ongoing thing, or maybe increase, because we got another truck's gonna have to replace another 7 years.
Well, I think that ocean thing will shoot over that.
So, well,
Yeah,
it,
that's what we're basing it on, but,
no, if your 30-year program,
well, yeah.
6-2,
We
we have
stretched
the
it
next
out
one.
6-1.
Right.
My question is, how are you gonna write that article, that if you're gonna. I don't know how you can reduce it on the floor, but if the audit comes back. You can't, now you're gonna increase, you're gonna have to raise more, you can't increase that on the floor.
You can't
It's gonna be
increase
a
on the
lengthy,
floor.
right, so it's gonna be a lengthy article that. Hey, I'm no expert.
You can't increase it. I think it would just either pass or.
Right, but if you say, you know, you're gonna use this amount of money, and the audit comes back, and all of a sudden now you can't use that money, or only half of that amount. Then you, this is the article for 800,000, how you gonna increase it?
You
can't,
Yeah,
can't.
you know,
It'd be
so then you're
another-
gonna, so
another
what are you gonna
ask.
cut? Then-
well, and that's one of the reasons, if, once we get close to audited amounts, to know. If we say on the floor, okay, we got these numbers, but they're, you know, you can lower them. But we better have a plan on where we think we can put those cuts in, so they don't say, well, gee, fire department's got 400,000, let's give them 2. And that, I'm picking on you, but you're here.
No, I- Yeah,
That you would be there to say, wait a minute, folks, that we need to keep these numbers in here for this reason. And we've got 2 trucks through, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, I mean, we have to, we got to, I mean, I think if you do it down to, across the board.
Right, that's what I think. I think we do
Ten
it-
percent off
Right.
or
we do it proportionately because we don't want.
however, whatever percentage you
Right.
think of.
Yeah.
Right.
We
We
don't
have
want
to
to
deal, we
pick.
have to deal, just knowing that with the fire station or new trucks, you might have to have a year where you might have to finance some money or.
Right,
Which we.
well, and you know, if we could pull out the reval reserve, but then next year we've got to have twice as much.
If we
you
did
know,
10%, that would be 80,000, right? Roughly.
Yeah, 10%, we'd save 80,000, but
And then some of the money that, you know, from the audit, from last,
Well,
if possible.
Right, and there's one question I got is like the facility maintenance truck. That's on a 10-year schedule, so that truck technically isn't supposed to be replaced until 2026. So you can, instead of doing 50 this year, you could do 25. If you chose to, that's just one I'm throwing out there.
I think just to be fair, though, if you did the percentage of everybody,
percentage down the way.
Yeah,
because they're gonna say, oh, well, then if you're gonna do this, the fire department should cut theirs in half.
right.
Well, the biggest, what I'm saying is we're behind schedule, you know,
Well, I agree.
we're behind schedule. Facility maintenance is trying to do biz ahead of schedule.
The high part, a lot of the trucks. Crazy.
Confidentially, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and if we are, you know, as Dan was saying, if we are going to reduce anything, I think we need to do it proportionately on the floor. If we want to consider tonight reducing any specific
Right,
accounts, we could do that tonight.
right,
The select board and budget committee, but I think that we don't want to pit departments against each other at
No.
town meeting.
no,
Definitely don't.
Well, you're either gonna try to convince the voters to pass this,
right,
or you're gonna restructure this so it's more palatable to the voters. Whichever you decide to do, right?
right.
You might be able to talk them into, this is fine.
I expect there'll be a lot of people who'll say, and vote it.
They're gonna look at their, property tax bill going up this
I
year.
definitely would have that
Well,
part in there, though, if you can add it from the general fund and. Deducted, that'll help ease the pain. If that's worded in the article.
Makes
It
sense.
It would be 713,250 from undesignated and 79,250 raise and appropriate through taxation.
When we have.
That's a very palatable
Undesignated
number.
fund.
I'm sorry, I
What's the
didn't.
balance in the undesignated fund and what are we already taking out?
We've got just under 6 right now. But that doesn't include expenses for pulling the reserve accounts out.
right,
And that'll have to go us until we start getting tax money in again. So the TN will have to come into play.
Pull the reserve accounts out, what balance will that leave us?
Well, you're gonna pull,
What's your reserve accounts?
right, you're gonna pull 1.5 million, 2 million out.
So I'm looking at 4.
And I mean, with our budget, you're spending just under 1 million a month,
Right.
nine
So
something.
we can't tack that like we did last year. Because that was way too tight.
So is there a problem leaving the reserve in the general fund for one more year? And then, so you have that buffer?
well, it's,
Is that, I know
I
they.
mean, it's illegal,
Because
I
we
heard,
know
that's why I
that
came
it's
tonight, because I
not-
heard
you're not
so many
supposed to do
stories
that.
about,
yeah,
I know it's. State says you can't do that, or MMA or whatever, but. I just, if
Well,
you're
we
doing
did-
it, they haven't put it in jail yet.
You remember back when Pam was our treasurer
Yeah,
and there was no mix. Your reserve accounts were here, your undesignated funds were here.
oh, I agree.
And the interest was appropriated appropriately.
Yeah, because whenever I asked for a balance, it was, well, I gotta go check with the bank, because it's, yeah, I agree with, I'm just trying to get us by for. One more year to get things built up so we can do it safely without being in debt.
I
you
think
know?
next year we'll be having the same conversation.
Right,
I mean, I look at it, as much as I hate doing it, right is right, wrong is wrong, we're doing it wrong. We should correct it, and
Yes,
someplace we're gonna have
Well, I
to fight
agree,
people,
but
yes.
and, cause that's what I said to Lauren, could we take half, fix half of it this year and fix the other half next year.
Well,
I
that's
mean-
what
Right is right, wrong's wrong. Penny,
I mean, it'd be nice to get the interest, but
As long as he would be there to justify these numbers. I agree with. This guy over here.
Gary.
How long have I known you? Senior moment. And then. The other thing you can justify it with is. 72% of our budget is school.
I am.
These
Wow.
numbers, when you talk about doing it right, we need the money, let's do it. Is my input. In the scope of things, it's not that much. It's gonna go up.
Anthony would like to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry, Anthony, I didn't see you. Yes.
So first of all, I'm amazed that the staunchest Republicans there are advocating a $800,000 tax increase. Even though the town's portion of the overall budget is small, that's still a mighty tax increase, regardless of whether it comes from the county, the school, or the town. Two things. One is I appreciate Dan being magnanimous, but my personal opinion, you shouldn't proportionately just cut all of the proposals for the capital reserves. You should do what budgets are meant to do, which is prioritize. And so, for instance, if fire equipment and a fire station are your top two priorities, you should fully fund those things. And so, again, this is about making hard decisions, not making everyone feel good. And then lastly, I think, and I don't know if the town is doing this currently, but if you're separating your capital reserves from your general fund, that's a misunderstanding of the difference between governmental accounting and, our own home budgets. So it's not how governmental accounting works. Most towns don't have separate accounts for their reserves. They account for the money having been appropriated, but they don't put it in separate accounts because that hamstrings you at some future point and not having liquid cash available when you need it. I'll
That's
shut.
messy accounting for me. I like everything separate.
Me too, when we went through that.
Well, and we've had Phil has weighed in on this, right, Lorna?
Yes.
So our attorney is telling us that we're doing it wrong. And
We're doing it wrong by having,
by having it merged, that needs to
Yeah.
be separate.
right,
We need to be
I mean,
separate.
You account for it separately.
Right, but it's all in one account still, correct, Lorna?
Yeah.
It's just like a sub account, but it's all one account, one bundle of money, it's just the
Would-
same,
We have one account checking.
yeah.
still one account, but it's gonna be.
Right.
It-
Well, I mean, that's what was making me a little nervous last year when the town meeting that, they're spending for the capital reserve for public works, all that, trying to get down the general fund. It's like, I think that should have been stopped pretty quickly because I think we spent money quickly that we shouldn't have, but.
You're right.
Cause that was a lot of the capital reserve. I don't know, and I think I was confused too, because I thought it was separate accounts. Until I heard that it was all in the general fund, so. Just from past experience.
And we should fix that as soon as we can, at least that, from what I understand now. Anyway, so I will stay with the same article then, as it is.
I'm sorry,
I will stay with the same article as it is. 36.
I think we need to come to a decision and we'll be here all night.
Right, please. So. You guys gotta make a motion before we can do anything.
Okay,
So can we, if we went with the equation that we used before, the 713 and change, to use money from elsewhere, so that we'd only be raising and appropriating the remainder, which was 60.
79,250.
So can we afford to do that? Do we have money to move from other accounts?
We're going to have to pull from the TAN this year.
Heavily.
well,
We haven't done it for a couple of years,
right,
but we would definitely need to this year.
From your tan, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
but
So I'm asking about that only, and it may not sound like a great idea, only from the TAN, I'm not sure how people feel about that, but. what was our overall budget last year? 10 million? 6 million and change went into the school. This is the better part of it, more than 750,000 just on its own. Taxpayers, I'm thinking, may have some heartburn over it as is. Right? So. If there was a better way to do it without having another big chunk being raised and appropriated from tax dollars, I would be in favor of that myself. So if we could take 700 and change from money we already have, put it towards these things, because this is a priority. Raise and appropriate just the difference. If we can afford it, let's do that.
Just, you
And
know,
if we're not sure we could afford it, maybe we do 80%.
Exactly.
We raise and appropriate 20% when we take 80%, which gives us a little more cushion, not a lot, but. I mean, I'm trying to figure out where's the magic spot.
What did we?
Yes, you said-
I mean, the scary thing is about all this
Six oh seven
is,
fifty.
is
Well, that's 6,750.
if things go backwards for next year for 2026 budget. And we don't have these extra revenues, we will be a raising and appropriating all this with tax dollars. So, I'm not in favor of taking the whole total big bite this year when we have some, but I think, I think we need to take some of a bite, so. I always look at the chart, and Anthony knows this, cause I beat on him for 3 years about it, is I like my tax bills to be like this, not down and then up and then back down again.
Right.
A nice level and easy up is better than up and down tax
Well,
bills.
And the other piece to this is because of, I'm saying this right, that's the stabilization law or whatever that was out there so that folks that were
Oh,
older
that-
folks, the taxes
Yeah,
were
the
frozen
tax
for that
stabilization.
1 year. So we had folks that had their taxes frozen for 1 year. They lost that, for lack of a better term. So they had that hit and we had a big hit. So the two of them came together in this eruption.
Right.
And I think the gentler we can make that slope.
I feel that. But funding from the state this year is not gonna, granted it just started in session, but I don't suspect that the revenue sharing is gonna stay the same, and I don't expect the homestead is gonna stay the same.
I had question marks in my mind about that too.
That's why I'm saying, I think we need to take some bite from tax dollars, make, 20%,
Why don't we just split the difference?
that's,
Let's cut that number in half, take half of it from the undesignated fund and raise it over the other.
I'd feel better that way, that's just me, but I'm just one person.
I can live with that.
Well,
And
are there
then
any
we-
places here on these reserve accounts that we can see reducing them now?
Yeah.
I heard what Bruce said. So, where can we adjust now?
Doing from the request, that knowing?
Yep.
We need,
As Anthony said, what are the priorities, right? That's the question.
Mhm.
we need the head departments to tell us that.
Your priorities are your biggest part. 600,000 is your priority. And that's without doing anything for the rest of them.
And I was just asking about, for the building, because we had that special town meeting to come up with our share of the grant, if we get the grant.
But I
And
think
how
it included this year's appropriation of 200,000.
it included 800,000, 700,000? No,
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 I believe we had it, earlier when we went to special town meeting. What we had in reserve was our match. And then we would have to bond. We were gonna bond 1 million, that's what we asked for, which we got approvals for. So anything above what we had last year in that account would reduce what we were going to bond.
and then like miscellaneous furnishings.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so that would decrease the bond.
Correct.
Basically, same thing that we're doing with public works, same thing.
Yes, yes.
So, yeah, they're dollar.
So to put some numbers out there, Dan suggested do split the difference and do half.
I don't go to that, so.
Okay, so just to put the number up, if we did half of 792,500, that's 396,250.
Can you raise the bank for us?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I think another-
Raise and appropriate that, take the other from
It's a little
undesignated.
bit of help.
It is a little bit of help.
And it shows that we're, we're trying, and, and I think that, it's, we just kind of gotta explain that things weren't separate, weren't accounted separately. It was accounting, because people look at that audit number and say, we have $12 million, or we have
Right,
$8
and we
million
don't have
dollars.
12,
We
yeah.
don't have that, because some of that money's, been,
Spoken for.
spoken for.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And if you said, oh no, you can, sorry,
Okay, so let me ask this, Mona, if you don't mind. Can we afford to do that? 396,250?
yeah, we did 602. 602 last year. The only thing that killed us last year was that extra 500. That public works.
Gotcha.
Yeah, last year, our reserve account, we appropriated
From undesignated.
607,500.
There we go, 607.
Okay. So I'll just
Okay.
put one more thing out there, because I want to. If we did 60%, it'd be at 475,500. And that would leave us asking the taxpayers to fund less. It'd be 60-40 rather than 50-50.
As long as we don't run close. I don't wanna use any more tan than we have to, because the interest rate's high right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's expensive.
Was it 60,000 or something?
63,000,
Yeah, it's a fairly, if we use it all, it's a fairly high hit this year for the
And I
interest.
think, was that 63 would be attorney? I know it was an
No,
X,
103 for interest on the tan if we used it on.
103.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you say the capital reserve was last year? 6 something?
607 was what we pulled from
If
undesignated.
you took 10%, I know, I appreciate what Anthony said, but if you took 10% off everybody, that would be 80,000, you get that down. I can go from there.
Are we gonna save
Huh?
the taxpayers anything?
Yeah, I mean, we just replaced the repeater and the.
Use the tan.
We're good for a little bit.
I'm sorry,
Are we gonna do a favor to the taxpayer? If instead of raising and appropriating, we use the tan,
well,
isn't it 6 to 1, half a dozen the other?
I think it makes your tax bill a little more palatable for the moment, but
But the real picture is we're taking it out of tan, and we're gonna pay interest.
you're gonna pay
To
interest.
me, it's better to
So
raise.
is it
and
easier to pay the interest, is it easier to, that's the,
It's a great.
okay,
Huh?
all right, so let's,
Right.
an unofficial vote, are we comfortable with 50-50? Or do we want to look at a different number?
I can live with 50-50. I just wanted to make sure I asked enough questions to see if we could afford, any of
Right,
I'm good with 50-50, and then on the floor, if we have to start reducing, 10% at a time, or
right,
So somebody makes a motion.
Melanie, you comfortable with 50-50?
Yep.
Okay, so let's see, we have a motion on the floor, so I would move to amend the motion. And that the town will raise and appropriate for taxation $396,250. And appropriate from undesignated fund $396.50 to fund the following reserve accounts as written.
396,000.
200.
Yeah.
Anthony has
You
this.
said $396.
Oh, dollar. So that's my amendment to the motion.
Anthony has a.
Second, okay, Anthony?
This may be unrelated, but maybe at some point this evening, we could get an explanation about why it's $103,000 for interest on the TAN this year compared to $7,000 that was budgeted in FY24. 103,000 seems like an awful lot of interest on what is typically, a a rather small note.
Okay, well, let's finish this
103,000 is
article.
on, a 3 million TN, that's what Lee Bragg gave me.
Okay, and that's what it would be if we used a $3 million TAM.
I just never recall it being that much in the past. I always recall it being, we would budget $15,000 or $16,000 a year, not 103.
Okay, well, let's finish this one first. So there's an amendment on the floor. All in favor of the amendment? Dan?
Yes,
Barbara?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes,
Melanie?
Yes.
So the amendment carries. So now all in favor of the article as amended? Dan?
yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Peter?
yes,
Melanie?
Yes.
Budget committee, Gary,
Yes,
You vote yes.
Penny,
No.
no. Sarah,
Yes,
Bruce, yes. So 3 yeses, 1
Three
no,
yeses, 1 no, 2 absent.
2 absent.
Okay. Okay. So, where is well, let's keep going and then we can come back to the TAM. So is there anything else that you gentlemen are, I mean, you're welcome to stay.
So you guys, way too much fun. Good luck.
thank you very
You
much.
say that with such a smile in your voice.
Have a good night, guys.
Okay, so let's go back to, the beginning. Article 18 is the next one that we need to tackle. Article 18, to see if the town will appropriate $11,176 from plumbing fees, $9,458 from building permits, and will raise and appropriate from taxation $868,039 for municipal operations and administrative activities as follows. The 2024 budget of $798,265. The 2024 actual of $710,264.90. The 2025 request of $888,673. Funding from non-property sources. The 24 budget was $17,500. The 2024 actual was $21,718.90. The 2025 request is $20,634 for a net funding from property taxes of $868,039. I move we approve Article 18 as written.
Second.
Okay, discussion on Article 18.
Who changed the number for code enforcement officer?
That is what was originally presented, and you have the 30 hours on this sheet. So you have both of them so that you all can discuss and decide.
So let me be clear that not even one time have I said that I didn't agree to an increase in code enforcement accounts. What I don't agree to is that the board has yet to be able to have a discussion with code enforcement officer. The proper process would have been to have him come chat with the board in executive session so we can see, do you have everything that you need? Are you looking to have more hours? What are we gonna get for the increase in hours? But none of that's happened. And I'm so tired of asking the same questions and being straight up ignored. So I'm glad that this is being videotaped, and I'm glad that every time it is. Because archaic processes, as I believe it was referred to, are the processes that work. And it's how we've been able to balance our budget all of these years. It's the right process. So if you all just want to be yes men and women, this is not the right spot. So, and I'm exhausted by it, I'm flabbergasted by it, and I'm tired of repeating the same things and being straight up ignored on this board.
Okay.
I don't feel like I should have had to follow up with questions that the budget committee chair had today. I'm reviewing meetings, I'm like, why do we still not have this stuff? So I feel like consistently people are just ignored.
That
And that's
information
just
was
not-
sent to Bruce.
I got it. So I got a question on this budget, if somebody could just answer, why, so the actual for 2024, which I realize some of, we didn't have a treasurer for a full period of time, I do understand that, is $157,774. That's a pretty sizable from actual to what we're budgeting for this year, so I just,
What line are you on? I'm sorry.
I'm looking at Article 18, so I
Yeah.
took the actual of 710,264.90. Request is $888,673,000. So you subtract that out, comes out to $157,774,000. That's quite a difference from actual to what we're budgeting, so.
We're gonna have to pay 80,000 if we get a treasurer, so that's a
But we
big
had-
chunk of it.
We only increased the treasurer by $20,000 overall budget. Granted, we didn't have a
Yeah.
treasurer for a full time a year, but that doesn't equal up to $157,774.
We also have, auditing went up. We increased legal a little bit, IT support. I think, Harris Trio was higher as well. We increased for the, tax, GIS mapping under website. We saw a slight increase for the retirement, added the PFML.
Granted, we can't have actuals when we're doing budgeting because we're budgeting several months before, right? You know, but looking, when we budgeted, we was going by of course, the budgeted for, the 2024, which is 798, so it was, basically under $100,000 increase. But then you take your actuals to what you're budgeting, it's a big difference, so I don't mind doing what we, originally budgeted, the $90,000 increase, but why are we doing $157,774 over what the actual is? This is some of the stuff that, people are gonna look at in the annual report and say, holy Toledo.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think this is where we need to start looking and saying, okay, now we got an actual.
Yeah, but
Can
that
we-
actual isn't actual, nowhere near,
How isn't it?
because we didn't pay a treasurer.
Only for 2 months out of the year. We had a treasurer right up until November, the first week of November.
Yeah,
Anthony?
it-
No, go ahead. Lynn.
Six months of treasure was a much lower rate too.
But we only, right,
Anthony?
I would,
You have your hand up?
yes, Bruce pretty much made my point for me. When I did the calculations, a 25% increase of the budget over the actuals. And if you're going to say, well, we didn't have a treasurer for this amount of time, well, then are you also considering the fact that you're not likely to have a treasurer for at least through the first quarter of FY25? So maybe you should be reducing or accounting for that as well. So I agree with Bruce. That's an awful big number between actuals and budget in 1 year.
Well, we better get a treasurer pretty quick and take the stress off our town manager, that's just too much to ask.
We gotta keep the ads up.
Huh?
We gotta keep the advertisements up. We probably should be advertising in the Portland paper. We gotta increase what we're doing.
And for anyone who thinks that people leave jobs because of salary, not so. Very few people leave jobs because of their salary.
I don't even know what I mean by,
I'm sorry?
nothing. I just,
Oh,
thought that was place.
okay.
We have a breakdown of the administrative budget in this. Of,
Under general government. The first tab.
That's the question.
Sarah?
Planning board, I'm struggling with that.
I'm sorry?
With the planning board line,
Yeah,
we originally budget 200, 2,200. In 2024, we have only spent about $400, $500. Why we kind of doubled? And we need for 2025.
We added, pay for a secretary to do minutes.
There we go. Sorry about that. I should have known that.
Okay, Sarah.
So should we reduce 20,000 for the treasurer position for the first quarter? And that's an overestimation, we have it advertised at 60 to 75, so if we could get 80. Divide that by 12, we're looking at 6,666 a year. Multiply that by 3, that takes 20,000 off right there.
So,
Bruce?
so from what we budgeted to actual was 88,000 difference. We increased, because, you know, like I said, we didn't have actuals, then, you know, we can't have actuals, and I understand that. So we increased from the 798 to the 888, which was a $90,408 increase. So I don't know, I think that's a huge increase. $157,000 is a huge increase.
So we need to trim it back.
Yeah, something needs to be trimmed and something.
Okay,
I'm leaving that to you guys. You guys have to make a motion and send it to us, but I'm just throwing it out there that something needs to be trimmed and some, you know,
Well, what's in the administration? Is that all the payroll and benefits and?
Payroll, well, just for, administration,
Yeah.
code enforcement, you have assessing, you have the website, you have legal. Planning under general government, you got the planning board, historian, board of appeals. Town manager, code enforcement, hearings and elections, everything falls under this category along with insurance as well.
But the third line, you got select board, you got board of appeals, then you got administration.
Right, administration would be all of the office staff, code enforcement.
Code enforcement is separate.
Oh, sorry, assessing. All of our contracted work, doing the town report, printing, postage,
Okay,
website.
paper,
Yeah,
Education,
paper, I mean,
education.
there's quite a bit under just that one line.
Do we not also have an increase here for main purse, that most people have moved to main purse?
We have budgeted for everybody for main
Right,
personnel.
right. So we have main purse, which is a bigger over last year, right?
yeah,
Correct.
And we have, what do we have for a pay raise? Do we have a 3%?
Free.
Three
and we have
percent?
FMLA.
That.
And you have
that's
FMLA, yeah.
0.5%.
yes. But it doesn't, you know, I'm going down through trying to see what the main. Versus,
81.4.
yeah. Going through payroll and.
Insurance is a big jump that we can't control. That went from 75 up to 106.
They're almost totally down. right
Yeah.
there. Okay, so I wonder if, this article basically pertains to one, why don't we go line by line and understand why the jump? We're gonna be, scrutinizing this whole thing. Let's go line by line. My suggestion will be to go line by line and have one explain why the increase in insurance.
Okay. I mean, So Board of Appeals is actually lower, so Select Board is staying, basically staying the same,
So like,
855, right?
okay? We're up here.
Administration will, we did put more money in town manager, that contract will be negotiating,
That's a separate line.
huh?
That's a separate line. It's the next line.
No, but I mean, Lorna's not here, so let's see what we have to get for, data while we're waiting. So, town manager. That we put in, was roughly 10,000 more than 2024. And that includes Social Security withholding, FMLA, main PERS, the whole piece.
And I think that's fair, because if you're gonna pay, we talked about it, if you're gonna pay 80,000 for a treasurer. She's the head of it all, she ought to have a sizable increase.
Right.
80,000 for the treasurer come up. I thought we were at 60 to 75.
Well, but then by the time you put benefits and all the rest of it in, it's gonna be well over 80. You know, it's another, I wanna say 14.3%. From,
I thought you guys decided that at a board meeting that to be up to
yeah,
80,000 per salary.
well, I think we
I don't know,
did 60
you
to
have to go back and
75,
finish,
but.
so.
No. It was 80 and we had another,
Okay,
and that was.
so, the code enforcement is the difference in hours, plus the pay raise. And all the other ancillary things. Planning board is mostly the minutes, right?
Yep,
Yes.
Okay, hearings and election. That's basically staying the same as last year's budget. And historian, insurance took a big jump. Well, it took a big jump over actual, but not a big jump over budget.
So
I think
Plus
we can take
10%.
a little out of planning board, because. if
I'm
you were
sorry?
going Out of planning board, because if you were going by what it cost to catch up, because it was like. I don't know, 3 or 4 months there, there wasn't no minutes, so by the time you got caught up, because there was a ton of money that was spent, but it's not gonna be like that every month, it's gonna be.
Well, we could maybe take a little bit out of there. I don't know what we're paying.
So part of what you're paying out of there, the planning board has a legal line. So there's some legal money in there as well. It's about 2,000 in legal for planning board.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
And we do have. Oh, yeah, planning board, right.
so what I'm hearing so far is that then only we have Lorna, if she can explain bigger on what the administration line income has. Then we'll have a clear vision of what's going on. And that actual line is the one that is off about $100,000.
Which line?
Administration.
Administration.
Every other line is understood, and we can follow it. But can you please then explain what caused the increase in the administration line?
Well, a big part of it is look at personnel. We're up quite a bit, initial from the budget, 2024 budget to 2025 initial, but we added money there.
Okay, Laura, on, I don't know, this may be harder than I think, but as far as what we did not spend on a treasurer, rough numbers, what was Nick? What was the former treasurer being paid on a monthly basis?
$5,000.
And then you have to add. With retirement and benefits, is it roughly another 20%?
You're gonna add 20,000 for retirement and benefits probably.
Well, on a
year.
percentage basis, though. I'm trying to get a monthly so we can work.
You're,
Is it another 25%?
you're 1,200 a month for insurance and retirement, you're 10%.
So you've got another 500, and then you've got social security withholding and FMLA. So, let's just-
7.9%.
so 7.9, another 350, 360. I'm just doing this rough in my head. So we're looking at 814. We're looking about 7140 if I've added those numbers correctly. Just a minute.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and can you give me roughly what we did for Lisa? And then we had months in between that we haven't paid anybody. Just so we know that with that number, actual number should have been
Exactly.
bumped up.
All right.
That's right.
So 4,000 a month.
Okay, so 4,000 and then
All the
1,200
rest,
again in benefits, right?
yeah,
And
10% retirement,
so that's
7.9% taxes.
so that's 8 times for 320, okay.
So,
So, second, and I'll be with you. So 4, 5, 9, 59, 20.
6,
So, and Nick left in May?
I think Lisa started in July.
So we should, so we had 2 months, so.
4 months of our treasure then, right? Lonnie?
Right,
Didn't Lisa start in July,
I,
Mary?
I think I
can't
found the
remember.
whole,
Yes, she did. She started in July.
okay,
Yeah,
what,
so, the line by line budget,
That's,
page number 4. I don't know if, this was part of the new takeover with Lisa or not. It seems that item, 1015 through 1017, the actuals are all 0. So I don't know if that moved from another location.
Well, see, some of that I can answer, because some of that was all put together as payroll taxes.
It was all under one lump
Right. But,
bucket instead of breaking it out.
so the help, like, that is the question I was having, of like, on 10-18 in health insurance. It's, a budget in for 56,400, was that part of that 92,000 in the 2024
Likely.
budget?
Likely,
Okay,
because there were only 2 lines previously,
okay.
and now we've opened it
So
out.
things haven't
Yeah,
changed
so
a
you
whole
can't
heck of
really
a lot,
look, yeah.
because
you
we
can't really
budgeted
look at it.
92,000 in 2024, so.
I can't remember what it was, I don't know if it was called payroll tax previously,
Yeah, I think it was called benefit, the benefit,
maybe benefits,
yeah,
yeah.
I think so.
and did
Don't
that have
quote me on
social
that.
security and withholding in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it had everything.
So basically, if you added those 4 lines that were zeros in the actuals, you got almost basically $85,000 right there.
You know, the difference between the actual for 24 and what we're budgeting, it's 78,283. Difference for what we're budgeting over the actual,
But
so
right,
almost an $80,000 increase.
I don't know why the actuals, I don't understanding of why the actuals were 0, but. Yeah.
But look,
So,
right
so
here,
doing very
this
rough
is-
numbers, I'm coming up at about 28,000 in the treasurer,
this is-
using Lisa for 4 months and Nick for 5, from what we budgeted, from what it would have been if you'd stayed the whole year and subtracting off.
Yeah.
So,
Real rough, but.
are you thinking that we could, use
No,
that?
no, I'm
or-
just trying to justify some of the actuals that,
Right.
Okay.
And if you look at our audit, we increased from 89 to 16.5. Legal from 24 to 25, IT from 22 to 25. Printing, we went up on that.
Lorna, do you have you must have what the health insurance increase is gonna be for 2025?
It's 10.2. Right now, we're doing 9.9.
No, but what the increase is gonna be on health insurance?
Right now, Oh, that's state retirement, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We budget 14,100 a year per person.
Okay. So, yeah, I guess what I'm asking is, do you know if there's gonna be an increase in health insurance?
We've budgeted 14,100 per year per
14%.
person.
So you should have that from MMA already.
Yes, it's 14,100 is
14,100.
what we're budgeting
Okay.
per year, yes. We also went up on Trio. We went
How
up
ba-
on the website.
How bad was Trio?
Adobe, Trio was 2,500. We went up on the website from 25 to 78.
Ooh.
Added the Adobe licenses, which we didn't have last year. That's 1,200.
So 2,500 to 78? That's a big jump.
Yeah, because we've added our GIS mapping,
Oh, okay.
which, totally off topic, but there are a lot of building permits and plumbing permits attached to properties already. Hans has been, scanning and uploading those.
Right.
Just ask the question, when I'm going back in our budget books. What we had with the overtime. That was already paid out, a lot of these don't show it under the actuals. So there's nothing listed under.
Because it wasn't broken out previously, it was included in the wages line,
That's something new we started
correct?
budget time, around budget time, right? Wasn't it?
Yes,
We discussed that in the meetings.
Well, it was in some of them though.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So, just, I get, because a lot of people get confused on, going through, 10-13 through 10,
17.
10-18, the health, yeah, 10-18. So the difference from what we budgeted in 2024 to what we're asking for a budget in 2025 is a 15,400, which you can account that for the insurance increase and the retirement increase, which is not a huge, that's not a huge number. I mean, I'm trying to figure out where we are. I mean, our actual for 2024 was only 61,000, was almost 30, it was 31,000, just a hair over $30,000 less than what we budgeted for benefits, so. I
I
just,
think we're finding it's 27 here, 30,
well, what I'm saying is it's $30,000 less than what we budgeted.
Yes.
So we just, now we're budgeting. We're looking for a 107,400 for benefits, or what we used to call benefits. It's, it's a payroll tax, retirement, overtime. All that. Health insurance, all that. That's what we're asking the budget for 2025, which I'm not saying that is wrong or not wrong. But what I'm stating is we budgeted in 2024, 92,000. The actual was only 61,000. It's a $30,000 difference.
Right, but not everybody took health insurance, not everybody participated in retirement, so what your actuals were could be much different than if everybody participated and you were paying that out. Does that make sense?
so you have to budget for it in case one person leaves, the new one coming in
Correct.
wants health insurance, but
Okay.
you're not paying for it, or it's not an actual cost.
Right, like I said, in the 15,400. Over what we budgeted last year, I'm comfortable with that because you got your insurance increase, you got your retirement increase, and you got the family leave that. I'm comfortable with that, plus. Oh, no, actually, workers' comp doesn't come out of it, so. That part I'm just not comfortable with the $150 some odd thousand difference between actual and what we're budgeting. I'm not comfortable with that. I mean, if we just do $20,000 to show that. The taxpayers that we worked hard and got it, and, we didn't have a treasurer for the first quarter of the year. But I think we can work on more of it if we chose to, or we can just do the 20,000 and. Or leave it as is and one of you guys on the floor. And,
One town manager. can-
oh, the town man, well.
You only have you have two lines that are high.
Right.
One is insurance, one is administration. Insurance is, it's gonna go up.
Absolutely,
Administration, if you can explain it, leave it.
right,
Right.
And then explain it on the floor if somebody raised a question.
And then you guys can make a motion to decrease it, but not having a treasurer for the first quarter.
we could make an adjustment there, right,
And I'd be, I'm comfortable with that as long as you guys can explain line for line why it's that much difference between the actual and what's gonna be budgeted. And it's gonna be tough.
well, I mean, we'll be, I think, taking these numbers like we're doing here on the fly and have to get them. So they're ready to be presented at town meeting,
And somebody on the board is gonna have to be able to speak. on it.
well,
We
we're
just
just going
reduce
on.
it now.
Or you can
Sort of
reduce it
close the
now.
number out there instead of anticipating that somebody's gonna remember to pop up on it.
And it's only 90,000 from the budget, but you're looking at the actual, but the budget's only,
On the insurance.
Well, and you're right, part of that is, so it sounds, are we going to vote on this tonight? Are we comfortable enough to vote on this
I don't
tonight?
think we have a choice.
What did you
Yeah.
come up with for the monthly on the treasurer?
I
Was
came,
that like
our
75?
former treasurer at like 7150 with all the benefits in. And then the treasurer that was here for just 3 or 4 months, 5920.
So take out the 20 now, because you figure the first 3 months or so.
Right,
There's
so we could reduce administration by 20,000.
another small correction you need to make on here that's just incorrect. Last year's budget for code enforcement officer was 56,650.
And it says 59.
It says 59, so the total number at the bottom is wrong, but it's less.
Okay,
So I'm looking at
Oh,
24,
did you pull it?
I'm looking at the article from
I
last
can
year. And the
fix
town
that.
So
report.
what budgeted was 56.
56,650. So the total bottom of the line was 795,265.
5, 2, 6, 5.
So that,
So
That-
code enforcement that went up like $15,000.
right, so the actual, if it was only budgeted 56,650, the actual was 62,670, that overspent that line.
We did overspend that line.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
you'll
either
spend it
way.
anyway, either way.
Yeah.
You'll spend it by more.
Right,
So are we gonna reduce the administrative line by 20,000? Is there comfort with that?
I'm comfortable with that.
I think,
Million?
I think so, 'cause like I said, administration, I'm showing a $78,000 increase. Over here on this page, so yeah.
Admin will go down 20,000. We probably could do it 25. By the time we get someone else in. But,
Yeah.
We have an interview, with-
huh,
we have an interview with somebody.
No,
No?
No, we don't.
Back then.
back down. So, however, we'll need some. Go get some more. Yeah, I would leave it at 20, because we'll have to take part of that salary to do some different advertising. So, and the advertising's not cheap,
No,
So leave it at 20.
take 20 off.
Yeah.
Okay,
So that figure becomes 534 over.
the 498, 290, we take 20 off, so it'd be 478, 290, am I correct?
No.
no,
The
the
54.
2025 request.
Go over to your right.
On the request side.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the trust side, right?
question,
I like to do this when I can sit and focus. I hate doing it on the fly.
I know, it's hard.
Okay,
Penny. Yes.
Carol,
Oh.
Penny has been.
oh, Penny,
the town manager, I thought we added 20,000.
no, it was not, 20 was not added.
Huh?
I think it was, no, but this also represents just 3 months at a new contract rate. Or 4 months, because the contract renews in September. So we put in an increase, but it was only for 4 months. So that's why that number is impacted. Okay,
Good now, we good now?
I don't know, are we? Are we good that we would say the budget is? The budget line would be 790. The only thing we're taking off is the 20,000, am I correct?
Yeah,
From 888.
Right. So down to.
Right, off the 888. No, I was trying to. We'll have to make this correction. Are we all right?
But what are we doing with the code enforcement salary? Are we leaving
That's
it
the other
increase,
piece.
or-
Of what are we doing with the code enforcement?
I think this is I think this is the discussion that we didn't have on the code enforcement stuff.
Right,
I don't know that this is my 4th year on board and I've not. The process has been unwritten that the budget is discussed first with the budget. Committee and then with the select board.
That's just been the last 2 years. Prior to that, no. Budget committees, select board, department heads. Everybody got all the same information at the same time.
Gary?
Before that, it wasn't that way. We met as a budget committee with the town manager and the department heads, got the budget squared away and ready to go on with, and then you guys came in. And
Right.
we voted on each article, discussed each article many, many times,
Right,
but that's how it was done when I was on the board.
okay,
And at the meeting where we might have discussed this, we got. We got hung up on process and rather than.
we did get talking about the process, yeah.
Rather than the actual merit, so I think that we lost that opportunity.
Right,
So, can I make a suggestion?
looking, oh, go ahead.
So. Suggestion I will make, and this is up to you five, not me, but suggestion I'm throwing out there. You keep the budgeted number. You guys put it on next meeting's agenda to discuss it with the code enforcement, even if you have to do an executive. I don't care how you do it. If you do it public, executive, whatever way you guys do it. And your 5 of you and the town manager, you know, if you do executive, the 5 of you, the town manager and the code enforcement have a discussion and this and that, you guys get it squared away. If it goes, if you guys all 5 of you decide, yeah, great, needs more hours, he wants more hours. It's a done deal. If you guys decide not to, then you guys cut that number on the floor.
Okay, I guess I look at if the actual was 63,000 and we're giving a 3% increase. That 70,426 is a normal progression.
It is, but
But the actual was based on working more hours than we budgeted.
right, you guys budgeted.
Well, we've been talking about whether we bucket budget or line item budget. We're not tracking anybody on line item at this point.
Oh, no, but he was budgeted for 30 hours, and I ain't saying, and I'm a big supporter for more hours. But to make things right, so how this town is always operated is, I think, just pass a budget, you know, let us vote on the budget. You guys, and make sure it's, and I'm gonna, you know, of course, it's recorded. So I'm saying now, you guys, and when you get, you know, you'll have to say, it's gonna be on the next agenda. And you guys discuss it, either an executive or in an open meeting. I don't
It's
care.
not our business.
It's not our
The
business.
budget
over here.
committee has nothing to do with
Right,
it. That's-
right.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's where I'm throwing a suggestion at you guys and like that.
But you vote on it, the budget committee votes.
We
on
vote
it.
on the end budget, we don't care about,
They
You're
don't
talking
really
about
do
personnel.
that.
On the line item.
right?
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
and
But
so
it's a
whatever that
budget-
number
it's-
is,
I mean,
we'll
it's a
vote.
budget item. I don't see why we would have to discuss it in executive session. It's not.
No, it's a personnel discussion.
Shouldn't have, we're
Personnel.
just discussing authorized hours of work.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
It's nothing that
She's the
shouldn't be
boss.
discussed publicly.
Why can't she just do that?
Okay. So are we agreeing to budget it this way and we could take it down on the floor? Is that where we're at?
In my opinion, yes.
Okay. All right, so our Article 18, the bottom line will be that the 2025 request will be for $868,673. We will raise from non-property tax sources $20,634. And we will have funding from property tax, giving us a net of $848,039.
Let that come down 20,000 on the bottom.
I just
It
took
did.
20,000 off the bottom.
Sorry.
So I make that motion as corrected here at the meeting.
Second.
Okay,
So,
are we ready to vote?
you also have to change administration line.
Yes, but we're not, right, we will change that,
534.
right,
Agreed.
okay, so. Any further discussion? All in favor, Dan?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Melanie?
No.
I'll vote yes, so that's 4 yeses and 1 no.
Budget committee, Gary,
Yes,
Sarah,
Yes,
Penny,
Yes.
Bruce, no, and I'll state the reason no. I want you guys to be able to explain line to line at the town meeting. Why we're up $154.
Okay, so we are through Article 18 for this evening.
In the budget committee, it's 3, 4, 1 against, 2 absent.
Okay. So now, what's our next number? I lost my paper. 21. Article 21, shall the town approve the following? Approve a capital project consisting of road improvement and paving as proposed by the Board of Select Persons, the board, and on the term the board deems appropriate as detailed below. Raise and appropriate from taxation $335,000 for direct cost of the road project. And appropriate $735,000 from the Public Works Maintenance Reserve. And obtain up to $690,000 from proceeds of a loan or bond. On terms deemed appropriate by the town treasurer and the board. Authorize the town treasurer and the board to assume general obligation securities of the town, including temporary notes, in anticipation of the sale thereof in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $690,000 to partially fund the appropriation. Delegate to the town treasurer and the board the authority and discretion to fix the dates, maturities, interest rates, denominations, calls for redemption, with or without premium, form, and other details of said securities, including authority to execute and deliver the securities on behalf of the town. Financial statement of indebtedness, outstanding principal balance of bonds previously issued, $167.03. And anticipated amount of bonds to be issued, $690,000 for a total cost of $916,167.03. The cost to be an estimated net interest rate of 5% for a 2-year maturity. The estimated cost of the bond issue will be principal of $690,000, interest of $55,000 for a total debt service of $745,000. The validity of the bonds and the voters' ratification of the bonds may not be affected by any errors in the above estimates. The ratification by the voters is nonetheless conclusive, and the validity of the bonds is not affected by reason of the variance. Signed by Lorna Nichols, Town of Belgrade Treasurer. Below is a listing of the roadways to be worked on if the above article is approved. All work estimates are based on present funding. If the estimated funding is lower than the final bid amount, the town will not expend any money more than the estimated maximum provided in this article. Consequently, the scope of work will be reduced so the funding estimate is not exceeded. If the final bid amount for this project is less than the estimated funding, only the amount of money necessary to complete the project will be bonded. For example, the town will not bond for funds that are needed to complete this project as presented below. Project detail, listed below, the roads as printed on the form, for a total estimated cost of $1,759,898.40. Less raise and appropriate of $335,000, less reserve of $735,500, giving us a total estimated bond of $689,398.40. I move we approve Article 1 as written.
Second.
Any discussion on Article 21? I think this fixes the concern we had that it was redoing. Okay. All in favor, Dan,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Melanie,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes, so that's 5 yeses.
Budget Committee, Gary.
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes,
Penny,
Yes,
Bruce, yes, so four yeses, 2 absent.
Okay, moving on to Article 23. To see if the town will appropriate $3,000 from the library plowing mowing contract and raise and appropriate from taxation $439,525 for the maintenance of facilities and grounds as follows. The 2024 budget of $423,655. The 2024 actual of $419,831.52. The 2025 request of $442,525. Funding from non-property tax sources, the contract from the library. 2024 budget of $1,550. The 24 actual of $3,000, the 2025 request of $3,000. Funding from property taxes will net out to $439,525. I move we approve this article as printed.
Second.
Any discussion?
So curious what the miscellaneous expense was.
Yeah,
Well,
Um,
I'm trying to figure that out. If you look at my explanation, what I have found is it is a result of journal entries, one in June, one in July of last year. June 11 to general account 0244, it was an AP correction of $3,549.85. And then on July 11, another journal entry for account G0286. And it was titled May typo for an amount of $84.65. I've pulled 2 AP warrants for the month of May and I've not been able to match these numbers to anything in those warrants. I'm still researching it, but I don't have an answer for you of what
What the
that is. It
miscellaneous
was an error. Journal entries done, so it shows up on the expense report
as miscellaneous.
as a miscellaneous expense.
Okay,
What is the line item for this year, or remind me for Workman Field? If it wasn't on last year's.
Right, correct. Corey added that under his budget this year. Because they've begun mowing and taking care of, the fence.
so he'll track it this year. So
Yes,
it was not tracked before.
correct.
Okay. Anyone else have any other questions?
don't road properties, things like that could probably come down to at least 10 grand, if not 15. We're not doing anything, and I think we budgeted 2 years ago because we did the painting and all of that stuff. Something like that, we could come down to 10,000.
Did we?
Isn't that money to spend for demolition?
I think that we were thinking that extra 15 might help cover that. Demolition.
Right. We did adjust it down on Article 25, we took the 15 off, the 15 that was quote left over, but doesn't need to be listed. There's 45 there. And 45 here. So it looks like we should not have a request for 24,550.
Could definitely cut that down.
I'm sorry,
I said you could definitely cut that down.
right,
But what did you say, Mel? Reduce it by 10? Yeah. Why couldn't you put it down to like 10?
No, put it down to.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
14,550.
Yeah.
okay, so if. How are if the Dalton Road properties are. Oh, if they're voted to be demolished, then we would be way over. Because that would be an overage.
Sure.
Right? If they're not demolished, then we may have some expenses there, which is why it probably got left in.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, because we did take the delta and reduce the first article. Okay, so are we going to take? What are we taking off?
You suggested 10,000,
10,000.
15,
Take
15,000.
put it
fifteen,
at 10,000, so that would be $1,200 more than last year. And we actually spent on the properties.
take 15,000.
Question? Are we gonna do significant repairs to the Center for All Seasons? It's only gone up $1,000.
I think the Center for All Season was,
That's a separate, that's the RFP article.
Yeah.
right,
Okay. Good, thank you.
Okay, so I didn't get the actual figure for the Dalton, the rewiring the Dalton. road properties.
Decrease that by
like
15.
15,000.
The
So
Dalton
24,550 minus 15 is
minus 15,000.
19,550,
9,000.
9,550.
Yeah.
So it should be 427,525, the bottom number.
427,525.
I believe so.
Take 3,000 off that. So it would be
424,525.
424,525.
Yeah, so it takes us that percentage, that budget, very low increase.
Almost no increase
Yeah.
at that point.
How much you taking off and where?
We're
Taking
taking
off the Dalton.
15,000 off the Dalton properties
Dalton Road
budget,
properties.
How much?
15.
Thank you.
So that makes that number
15,000.
9,550.
15,000. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
And then I noticed to just bounce back and look at the parks because 2024 actual was 18,367, but the request was 5,850. I'm assuming that some of that is Workman Field, because that's 8,000.
I don't know. We have, we don't have this detailed. There's a lot, still don't know. We tend to go down many rabbit holes. Trying to research.
Is the audit gonna help with that, or
I
do you
hope
just
so.
still be chasing rabbit holes?
I hope that it will. I don't know.
I just hoping it's gonna lessen the workload, so.
okay.
you'll probably. be
So
glad to
is
see
there
the audit.
anything else, or are we settled with a funding for property taxes of 424,525?
I think that's it.
Okay, so I would amend my motion to see if the town will appropriate 3,000 from the library plowing mowing contract and raise appropriate from taxation $424,525. for the maintenance of the facility and grounds as printed with the correction of the Dalton Road Properties budget for 2025 would be 9550. Reducing the funding from non-property tax sources to 427,525. And with netting out the $3,000 contract from the library, we would come up with a funding of property taxes of $424,525.
Second that.
Okay. Any discussion on the amendment? All in favor, Dan?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Melanie? And I'll vote yes, that's 5 yeses. I now move that we approve Article 23 as corrected.
Second that.
All in favor, Dan?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, so that's 5 yeses.
Budget Committee, Gary,
Yes,
Sarah,
Yes,
Penny,
Yes,
Bruce, yes. 4 yeses, 2 absent.
all right, that was taking 15,000 from the Dalton property.
Right,
And so the total, instead of 442,525 is,
427,525.
okay, I thought you said 424 and it
At the
wasn't
bottom.
now.
at the bottom.
At the bottom, you take another 3,000 off for the mowing contract.
Okay,
Right, so then you end up at.
Okay. All right, now we're on to Article 28.
Yeah.
Question, did we vote on? It's Article 16 over here. Okay,
it still doesn't
I
have.
guess I didn't carry my vote over on my paper here. I'm like, did we vote on that?
Oh.
But we did. We voted on this one. Okay.
Okay, Article 28, to see if the town will raise and appropriate from taxation $121,770 for library services as follows, with any unexpended balance lapsing into the library capital reserve. 2024 budget of $115,620. The 2024 actual of $108,230.13. The 2025 request, $121,770. Funding from non-property tax sources, the library capital reserve is 0. The funding from property taxes is $121,770. I move we approve this article as written.
Second.
Is there
Any
money-
discussion?
Yeah, is there no money for library capital reserve?
I don't know what we have in library property reserve.
I believe it's pretty low. Kara didn't wanna take any
Oh, that's right.
out of it. This year, we did last year.
No, oh, that's funding reserve.
Yeah, library capital, let's say, as of November was 19,000. So that makes sense to know that.
So what means do they have to replenish that?
What's left over from their budget.
Yeah.
Goes into
On
that
that,
reserve.
So so as long as they can, anybody could skimp and not spend all, then that would then go in.
Yeah, for the
Yeah.
library.
Okay.
And there was an error, the personnel line, that was high. It was higher because, the retirement included in the original figure was the 5% for the 457. And should have been budgeted for the 10.2 or 10% for state retirement. So
Okay.
that was a.
So that's what that number
Brought
is.
that up.
But why was the actuals much lower than what was budgeted last year? We didn't really have a personnel change to the library, did we?
No.
These there for full years. It was in full year, right?
No, but, that could be, the difference in retirement budget. Plus you have a 3% included,
Yeah.
Well,
I just wonder why we're 8,000.
Right, I think he-
right?
Yeah, I think he's talking why we're,
Less.
why we're less than what the actual, I mean, the actual is less than what we budgeted in 2024.
Like
Yeah.
Does he take full benefits, or do we have to budget for benefits that he doesn't use?
No, he does too.
Uh, Well, that would have been a good answer.
It's just, I'm surprised we have $8,000 left, like, still increasing it more again.
I mean, I know when we did the budgetary, we went through line for line and there's actually a couple lines. If I remember right, we increased because he was, because we budget by lines and there was a couple lines that he overspent, so we increased,
That's right, we did increase some of those,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Services.
okay,
Yes.
And supplies.
We also added an overtime line.
oh, okay,
Previously paid out of wages, increased the operating supplies from $850 to $1,400, corrected the retirement. The 5% versus the main PERS rate.
Yeah. Was that corrected before the actuals, Lana, or is that has the actuals got that corrected number in it?
No, actuals don't have any of the corrected, it would just be the budget.
Budgeted.
request. Yeah,
So you had to, okay.
are we ready to vote? All in favor, Dan,
Yeah,
Barbara,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Melanie,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes, 5 yeses.
Budget committee, Gary,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes,
Penny,
Yes.
Bruce, yes.
Okay,
4-2 absent.
all right, and the remaining warrant article is Article 33. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate from taxation $11,240 for social services as follows. The 2024 budget of $10,900, the 2024 actual of $3,697.78, the 2025 request of $11,240, funding from property taxes of $11,240. I move we approve the article as written.
Second.
Discussion.
I tried to make it easy to understand. I had 2 errors. The first was $840 added to the senior resources line as a 2025 request. I think that had something to do with the reads. The reads and the sheriff's coverage. Because if you look at your, I don't know why it's done that way, but if you look at your detail in here, your binder, it has social services and it almost like it clumps everything together.
Oh,
And so I obviously did not pay attention. That was my fault. So I've corrected that to 5,000. And then I had another error for the 2024 budget for senior resources. It said we had requested 5,800. We had not, we had requested 5,000. So I corrected those here, but it's different than what you voted on previously, so you'd want to vote
oh, so
again.
you want to revote it, okay.
it's still, that's $720 that we spend on Memorial Day and holiday wreaths, that seems awful low. Seems like, I thought we spent more than that on.
No, we increased it to, I believe, we increased wreaths to 800.
Right.
And the sheriff's coverage to 340 because their rate has increased.
I think some of the Memorial Day
Is in the cemetery.
is
budget.
of their cemetery budget.
It is.
Some of the rest of it.
It is.
Yeah, it's just, I thought the wreaths were more than that this year, because
I thought the rates was $760 or something like that, the actual.
Yeah, I was
I
thinking.
think we paid the 720 for the wreaths and we
Okay.
increased to 800.
Okay.
Okay, well, if we paid $720 for the wreaths, how much did we pay for the sheriff for Memorial Day?
I don't show anything for them.
I think that's under,
They were here, but I don't know if that.
Yeah, it probably got expensed.
Probably just holiday
It may be
It came out with
expensed for the road,
I bet it came out with cemetery.
probably.
or the Memorial Day programming, wherever that comes out of.
Cemetery.
Usually
Okay.
there.
So the speaker and all that comes out of cemetery? Oh, okay,
Yeah, because they got moved to there 3 years ago.
I don't remember it moving, so maybe it was before me.
Maybe it's 3
Yeah.
years. I know it moved, they moved it, but there used to be a separate line item, we had just the Memorial Day services.
Okay, anything we need to change? We ready to move forward?
So do we need to rescind our votes from the last one? Because it's kind of tricky to do because there's different members of the budget committee here. So we
Yeah.
already voted on that article, so we
That's it.
should actually rescind our votes from the previous vote. And I don't know how that will affect the budget committee's vote.
Okay,
I would just
I would just pull that out and just start over.
take
It's
it.
been changed and just start over.
Cause I think the one that voted no, now it's been corrected, we'll vote yes on that anyways.
okay, well, shall we just revote?
Yeah, I think that's what it
Okay,
is.
all in favor, Dan,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes,
Peter,
Yes.
Melanie,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes.
Budget committee,
Go the other way.
Sarah,
Yes,
Penny,
Yes,
Gary,
No,
So we have
Bruce,
7, 1, and 2, right?
I'm gonna go now too.
Oh, you're gonna vote no too?
Yeah.
Okay.
will you tell me what's up?
2, 2, and 2.
2, 2, 2,
I just,
okay. I believe that's all that we had outstanding from our last meeting that we needed to do tonight.
just
Am
one,
I correct?
yeah, I think so.
I'm sorry, Millie?
Okay, I didn't have over here that I didn't put in a vote for debt service, but there's a vote carried over. So I must have missed it on this one. So I'm sure we didn't miss that one.
I can hear what you're saying now.
I thought, I wasn't sure if you voted on
If you
it.
We have that,
Okay.
just so that the last year is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, can I ask one question about, facilities? Does that leftover monies in that budget, does that go into the facilities capital reserve? Or-
Not unless the warrant article says that.
Okay, so what?
If it doesn't, then it doesn't.
Okay, I didn't know if there was a forever one that we've done for that, or,
I don't believe so.
okay.
Mary, do you remember if there's a perpetuity article that puts unspent monies from the budget into facilities reserve? I don't
No.
think so.
No, there isn't. No.
Right, thank you, thank you.
Okay,
Overtime.
is there anything else that we need to discuss? Any other business to come before the board? I move we adjourn.
Any chance we could get that question answered about the $103,000 in interest on the TAN? Again, that's,
Yeah, it's a 5% interest rate on 3 million, Anthony.
okay, but again, in years past, I recall that being $15,000 to $16,000. $103,000 just sounds beyond the pale for interest.
Well, that's assuming we have to use the entire TAN.
Right. What is 5% times 3 million?
103,000.
yeah,
When you do the math.
figured right.
It is, it's calculated right, but according to the math, now, that's if you use the whole three.
Right, you use the whole
3
thing.
million, right?
Right,
I don't know, Anthony, other than the math.
Fair enough.
how much Anthony, how much you said it used to be?
My
15 or-
recollection, Sarah, is that when I was the town manager, we would budget $15,000 or $16,000 a year.
Interest is 1.5%, 2% each time.
And we never
Maybe
assumed
so.
it was gonna be
No.
all because we had enough
right.
insurance.
Yeah, we believe that makes sense, right? You had way lower.
Oh, yeah,
interest
way
rate
more interest.
And use nearly as much, then it would be a fraction.
So you only got $300,000 in TAN?
I don't recall, but all I would add is I don't want to belabor extend the meeting and belabor the point. All I would say is I hope the town just draws down on it as needed, as opposed to initially taking the full $3 million in cash in hand.
Yeah.
We always draw down.
It hasn't always been done that way, but
Oh, okay,
it's a best practice.
okay.
So before we adjourn, is the select board going to have an executive session at some point so that we can navigate where we're at and what we've been dealing with for the last 4 months? Because we need a path forward, and we need that path forward being made by the select board, the full select board. So
I think we should, whether we haven't advertised that we could, to do it next meeting.
Yeah, I think we most definitely need to.
Yeah, definitely. We need to establish a path.
Yeah, this is crazy. We're like flying by the seat of our pants, and I've been trying not to say anything, but at the 4-month point, I'm like, holy Hannah.
I think we would put that on for Tuesday night, if you would. Okay. I made a motion
What
to
is,
adjourn.
what is the topic, what is the rubric of the topic,
The fact that we haven't had a treasurer for 4 months, the fact that we have a town manager who's assuming 2 positions,
right?
the fact that we're not.
So, but I'm just asking,
advertising-
is it personnel? What
No,
is
this
this?
is us making the decision. We are responsible, Barbara, for determining the path that we take forward.
No, I understand that.
So
I'm
that
just
is-
asking what category of executive
Right.
session, just so Lorna can put it on the meeting.
I'm not able to be here Tuesday night.
Well, but it's for us to determine. What are we doing? So executive session is not for the town manager automatically. Executive session is for the board. So we have to come up with a plan. And how are we going to execute it? And what do we need to be doing differently? So that we're not sitting here in May, still in the same position. We can't. It's too much for one person to be doing.
So, if Lorna cannot be here, then we should have a time when she should be here, since it's personnel. And her job and role is part of trying to help us figure that out. Am I?
I mean, yeah, probably at some point, we're gonna have that discussion. I mean, we could still have an initial discussion, just to, you know, brainstorm some ideas on how we can try to get somebody in there.
Yeah. Is there anything wrong with doing that?
But we don't have to do that in
I don't
executive.
know.
We're not doing executive session,
You
do
don't have to.
You're not hiring somebody, you're not, you know, you're trying to figure out how you're gonna do it.
we? Right.
But, you know, some leads we come up with or things like that, I wouldn't necessarily think that has to be done.
Well, I think that we need an executive session, because I think when the ideas come up, you've suggested how many times, Dan? At least 3 times that I can think of, that we hire a retired accountant or somebody who has some accounting capability to come in. Nothing's happened. So I don't think referencing it in a select board meeting certainly is not appropriate anymore, because nothing gets listened to. So we need to have that discussion as a board. It is our job.
I didn't think it was your job. I thought it was the town manager's job on personnel.
It is not.
You're limited in what you can do executive sessions.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying
I
to
mean,
figure out.
very limited
Well,
on
so
what you
then
can
maybe we
do.
look at what our executive session headers are. And then we pick one that's more appropriate if it's not personnel.
Right, the category. That's why Barbara was
That's what I was
asking.
asking,
Yeah, so
what
there's-
category? are we-
there's gotta
There
be
is-
something.
Was it E
Executive
for,
sessions to order.
was it E for personnel and?
No, E's for
I
legal
think
counsel.
A is.
E's legal counsel. I just know this because we just went the first, we were about this. A is personal,
There's something for legal.
Yep.
I don't know what it is.
E is legal,
You're gonna end up like Winslow.
Huh?
You're gonna end up like.
Well,
Winslow.
No, try for us not to end up.
You
like
can't.
this one.
I thought when I was on the select board that we had jurisdiction over the town manager had jurisdiction over all the other employees.
Supervise.
Supervise.
We got jurisdiction.
We just, as a board, we have to find a way to get somebody that we can hire. That's what we want, that's what we wanna do, is try to find out how we can
Trying to
get
find
somebody,
out.
need a body.
Thank you.
So I
Put
guess
it
my
on the-
question
Put
is,
it on the agenda. for
does that
next
need to be an executive session? Do we need an executive session to do that? I guess that's my question. Is there a category that it fits?
Really, executive sessions are very.
Yeah.
They're
very
such a narrow scope that
Describe.
is.
one's real estate.
And that's how a lot of select boards get in big trouble,
Right,
is by going to an executive session.
You
It
don't.
should have been a public meeting.
right. And you don't have people there. So,
If we can find out, if we can do an executive session, fine, if not, just do it.
Put it on the,
Just
we
have
can
a
put it on the
discussion.
agenda.
Instead of 30-second discussion, we'll have a sit-down discussion on ways that we can try to brainstorm getting the message out there.
Okay, I got it for you guys.
it would need to be under other business or something.
A is employment matters and investigations. B is suspension, well, that's school board suspension and expulsions. C is real estate. D is labor contract and negotiations. E is legal consultation.
Doesn't fit any of those,
Right,
Sarah.
so we'll
And
put it on
F is
under
confidential
other
records.
business.
Thank you, Sarah.
And
Okay.
the other thing you guys need to have on your agenda is a discussion on the code enforcement thing.
Right.
If you threw us out right now, then you can do whatever you want. You know, we're ready to go.
That's right.
Same.
Okay. I move that we adjourn. Has it been seconded?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Dan?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Peter?
Yep.
Melanie?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Okay,
Thank you.
I mean, one-
Thank you.
Lawrence,
Thank you.
yes.
hey, Lana,
And then is.
can we still keep the books here and
See you,
keep
Gary.
us up to minutes so we have it for town meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, but.
Thank you.